Summary of the Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. The story begins with an unnamed narrator who finds himself in a gray town where he is waiting for a bus. He gets on the bus with a few other people, and then the bus takes off and flies over the gray town. The narrator then talks to some of the other people on the bus. Some of them remember dying in different ways. Icky tells the narrator that the gray town keeps growing as more and more people move there. Some of these people move closer to the bus stop so they can leave one day. Some people in Gray Town must be millions of miles away from the bus stop by now. When the bus stops on a big cliff, the narrator and the other people on board get out. They find that they have landed by a beautiful river with grass and trees all around. But the narrator finds out quickly that nothing moves in this place. Even the grass blades are stiff and still. This makes it very painful to move around. The narrator also sees that he no longer has a solid body and that he and his friends are ghosts. Slowly, the narrator figures out that he is in the future. As he comes to this conclusion, he sees a group of spirits coming toward the ghosts. The spirits are bright and have solid bodies. They have come to try to get the ghosts to follow them toward the beautiful, grand mountains in the distance. But most ghosts don't want to do that. One of them, the big ghost, sees that one of the spirits is Len, a man he knew when they were both living. Len killed a man, but he is now a spirit. The big ghost, on the other hand, is thought to have lived a good life, but he was sent to the sad gray town. Len tries to get the big ghost to love, but the big ghost refuses and walks back to the bus, eager to go back to the gray town. The narrator sees other ghosts trying to convince the ghosts to stay by the river, get their bodies back, and then climb to the top of the mountain. But every time, the ghosts don't want to stay and walk back to the bus. Icky wants to make a tidy profit in Gray Town, so he picks golden apples from a tree and takes them back to the bus, which hurts him a lot. The hard-bitten ghost warns the narrator to be careful and says that the same people must rule the river, the mountains, and the Gray Town. The words of the hard-bitten ghost make the narrator feel hopeless. Just as the narrator is about to go back to the bus, he sees the spirit of George MacDonald, one of his favorite writers. MacDonald is happy to see the narrator and says he will show him around. He says that the narrator is on vacation from hell, which he calls the Gray Town, and has come to the Valley of the Shadow of Life. Many Gray Town residents go to the valley, but they always come back to the town. The Gray Town is hell for these people. But there are some people who choose to stay in the valley instead of going back to the Gray Town. For these people, the Gray Town is just a place to live before they climb up to heaven. MacDonald says that people who refuse to go to the mountains and love God are like children who would rather be unhappy than be humble. For the rest of the book, MacDonald shows the narrator how the spirits and ghosts talk to each other as he carries him around the valley. In the first talk, the narrator sees a spirit trying to get the ghost of a famous artist to stay in the valley instead of going to heaven. The artist rudely refuses, saying that he couldn't live in a place where he wouldn't have his own things and where no one would recognize his art. MacDonald shows the narrator a ghost of a woman who fusses so much about her husband that she finally loses her soul because she is so busy being a baby about everything. Pam, another female ghost, fights with the ghost of her brother, Reginald, about how much she loves her dead son, Michael. Pam says that she loves Michael so much that she could never love anyone else. Reginald says that Pam must give up her love for Michael in order to fully love God, and that after she does that, she and Michael will be together in heaven forever. Pam says that Reginald is being mean, but she still loves her son and won't give up on him. MacDonald tells the narrator that the small lizard on the shoulder of another ghost is called Lust. The ghost doesn't want the angel to crush the lizard, but he gives in. This frees the ghost from his load of sexual desire. To the surprise of the narrator, the lizard changes into a beautiful horse, which gallops off with the ghost, who is now a man, toward the mountains. MacDonald says that we can become more beautiful, strong, and caring than we ever thought possible if we give up our earthly desires, even for our loved ones. In the last few pages of the book, Sarah Smith, a beautiful spirit, is shown to the narrator by MacDonald. Sarah sees Frank, a man she used to know. Frank is so angry and hateful of himself that he has split into two ghosts, a tall tragedian ghost and a small dwarf ghost. The small ghost, who is angry and hates himself, controls the tall ghost with a heavy chain. The tall ghost is a dramatic person who overreacts whenever Sarah does something even slightly offensive. Sarah tells the small ghost that she wants to tell Frank that he doesn't have to hate himself anymore because he's in a place where there's an endless amount of love. The small ghost is almost ready to laugh with Sarah and stay in the valley. But instead, he pulls on his chain, which makes the tall ghost get angry and accuse Sarah of never loving him. The small ghost gets smaller and smaller until he can't be seen at all. After that, the tall ghost also goes away. MacDonald tells the narrator that Frank was trying to use Sarah's sympathy and worry against her so that he could make Sarah feel some of the hate he felt for himself. Even though it might seem harsh for Sarah to be happy in the valley instead of feeling sorry for Frank, MacDonald says that the saved should be happy about their own salvation instead of feeling sorry for the lost. He says that if it were different, people in hell could blackmail people in heaven into being unhappy. The narrator asks MacDonald if the people in hell will stay there forever, or if God will one day set them free and take them to heaven. MacDonald says that heaven is available to anyone who really wants to go there. But the narrator should not ask about what will happen to people in the future. Humans are born into a world where they don't know what will happen in the future. For a person to learn the secrets of redemption, that person would have to stand outside of time and see the future. In other words, that person would have to stop being a person. MacDonald shows the narrator what he means by taking him to a huge chessboard where the pieces move quickly. The narrator starts to wake up all of a sudden. It turns out that he had been sleeping in his study.
About the author. C.S. Lewis was born in Ireland and grew up there. Then he went to Oxford University, where he stood out as an English, classics, and philosophy scholar. Lewis fought in World War I. He saw a lot of death and destruction there, which made him an atheist for most of his 20s. Lewis taught at Oxford University for more than 30 years. During this time, he joined the Anglican Church and became a strong voice for Christian beliefs. Lewis's love for Christianity and his huge understanding of mythology and languages led him to write his most famous book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the first volume of the Chronicles of Narnia, in 1949. During his life, he wrote poems, articles, literature, autobiographies, works of fantasy and science fiction, and academic criticism, philosophy, and Christian defenses. Lewis was a professor at Cambridge University until he died in 1963.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.